Rusev Day felt like the same thing, where it was created and either by you or Rusev, and together this thing bubbled up and had all this momentum without the machine behind it. Do you think that helped you or hurt you? Because it seems that when people come up with ideas on their own, they're like, well, we didn't come up with that idea, so we're not going to get behind it.
Right. So I think there's a little bit, there's some truth to it, but there's also a lot of misnomer about that idea. With Zach and, with Matt, he knows obviously more about the backstage politics of what went on with his particular run. Maybe that was more of a case there. It's always a good idea. I've been told this about business in general. Like, if you've got something you want to do, if you can make it your boss's idea, like if you could talk them into thinking like they came up with it, it's always better, because if you're in charge, you want to think you're the genius running everything, right? So like, that's just, if you're able to do that, folks, if you have that wit about you, I highly recommend it. It just makes things smoother. That said, I don't feel like it was a case of like them spiting us. I think people have that, I think, is a misnomer, a wrong idea of like, there's something popular that they didn't intend and they go, oh, we're going to stomp this out. No, because that's bad business.
Right.
If something's popular, like if they truly felt that way, they would have just split us up. They would have just squashed it, and Rusev would have gone and done something else. They kept booking us. They kept putting us on shows. They kept giving us, promo time. So like they acknowledge that there is something there. They're not going to ignore it. Where the issue came in, and I stand by this, is that one of the things with Vince is I think he views you in one way, and it's very hard to change that view, especially if he likes you as XYZ. And then also if he doesn't, but especially if and I think he liked Rusev a lot as the Bulgarian brute, the big brooding foreign bad guy who beats people up, doesn't talk a whole lot and everything like that. And so I think that's where our conflict kind of came with how the booking went, or whatever you want to call it. Because again, they acknowledged they made merch for Rusev Day. They did all that. They put us on these shows. They gave us these chances to be on TV a lot, but never really pulled the trigger or anything. Because man, there were so many matches where Rusev would go out there and kind of like do the old babyface push, babyface comeback, and where you get back and kind of get yelled at, like, you're not a babyface, you're a heel. We kept trying to force it, which maybe we shouldn't have done. But yeah, I mean, the Vince man, I think, just always saw him that way. And so like his way of, we're going to put you out there, but like, you be a heel, you're a heel, you're a heel. And it just kept going against the grain. And to a point where a lot of people didn't get it. Again, New Day, we were kind of working with them and like the Usos a lot. And they were like, why? Like, they turn you guys, like, you guys, we'll work with you. Let's have them turn you guys. We can do this whole thing. But the boss just never saw it for him. And so kind of just wrote it until they forced the wheels to fall off. And because the boss, I'm telling you, he did not see the babyface aspect. He didn't get it.
It's interesting because eventually Rusev would turn babyface and have that Bobby Lashley Lana storyline too. So, and I guess with you as well, the whole storyline when you guys broke up, where I guess you were the heel and technically Rusev and Lana were the baby faces. So it eventually did happen, but in the design they had versus, and I'm not saying they did that on purpose or whatever, but obviously you're right. It's hard to change perception of what people think of you, especially when you've been doing one thing for so long. They obviously want you to be that because they designed it that way. I have seen a Rusev interview where there was a couple of events where like all the Rusev Day merchandise sold out at these events, and he went up to like Triple H, and Vince was like, "Oh, did you see this? I'm so excited!" And they were like, "Yeah, well, we only had one box of your stuff, so that's why it sold out."
It was something along the lines of, he was having a meeting with Vince, I think, about like, hey, we should do something with this, and maybe we could be babyface, and maybe this act could be a babyface act. And he tried to tell me he was the number one merch seller on .com.
Yes,
he was selling more merch than AJ Styles at the time. Maybe it was 2 weeks, maybe it was a month, I don't know. But there was a point where the Rusev Day shirt was the number one selling shirt, and Vince hit him back with well, maybe we just didn't have a lot of shirts. And it's like, that was also shortly after the thing where everyone was chanting Rusev Day, and we trying to point out to him that look, people like us, people like this act, people like, they're very into it. And Vince legitimately thought they're just making fun of you. Like the audience is just mocking you with the Rusev Day chants. You're a heel, right? You're a bad guy. They're clearly, it's like Kurt Angle and the "You Suck." They're just mocking you by doing your little chant. And it was like, what?
Right.
Okay. So that's the kind of mentality we were butting up against.
Of course. And obviously it's very hard to tell your manager they're wrong and you're right.
Especially when your manager is the billionaire CEO. It's not just your manager.
Right.
CEO of the company.